welcome back to Intern to Empire, where I interview young people and get their story on how they're winning in their early careers, industry, and life. I am your host, Ava Swinton, and today on our episode, I have my lovely guest, Ava Cashman, and then my lovely co-host, Ina Swinton. If you guys could both introduce yourselves, that would be great.
I guess I can go first. I am Ava's co-host, Ina Swinton. I am also Ava's mom and mentor, and I know a great deal about mentorship and getting young people to success. And we are interested in learning about other journeys, and I am super excited to talk to Ava today.
My name is Ava Cashman. I'm a sophomore at Vanderbilt. I was so lucky to meet Ava at the beginning of this year, and I'm really passionate about working in the music industry on the business side, and I'm just so grateful to be here today.
Well, thank you so much, Ava, for coming onto my podcast. So my first question I'm going to start with is I'd love to know a little bit about your high school experience, where you're from, and really how you got to Vanderbilt.
Definitely. So I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I grew up when I was very little, always being involved in music, choir, a cappella, theater, all the things. And for a while in high school, my interests were very journalism oriented. And the way I kind of found my way to the music business was I was applying for a journalism program, and they had a music business class. And I was like, wait, this seems like something I'd be interested in. So I applied, was accepted. I took the class and I was like, I need to make this my career. And so going into my senior year, I applied and was accepted to a program through the Recording Academy called Grammy Camp, where I studied music business in LA. And that week just completely changed my life. I had an amazing professor who's now my greatest mentor, and I was surrounded by such great young musicians. And yeah, in high school, in terms of like getting to Vanderbilt, I was involved in a lot of organizations that were very like creative, involved in leading teams. I ran a magazine and a fashion show at my high school, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, Vanderbilt's always been my dream ever since I knew it existed because it's, great academics, great people, and in Music City. So exactly what I want to do. So I'm super grateful to be at Vandy, and it still is kind of like a pinch me moment whenever I walk through campus because it's been my dream for a while. So happy to be here.
That is really inspiring. I love how you sought out the Grammy camp, and I think entertainment, fashion show, magazine, about fashion. It sounds like you were definitely making choices that aligned with your interests. Can you tell me a little bit more about the mentor you found at Grammy Camp and how you continued working with that mentor?
Definitely. So my professor at Grammy Camp, his name was Mike. His name is Mike Garcia. He is the chair of the music industry program at USC in LA, which is basically their music business program for students who don't want to be performers, who want to work on the business side and uplift artists. And we were in, I think, a 25-person class. It was a week-long intensive, and I was just so excited to be there. I just kind of soaked up everything. Always ask questions, and just throughout that process he was very supportive, and I made sure, like, I think the way I kind of kept up the mentorship during the week was like I had a few friends in the class, and we'd always, like, after class talk to him for a little bit, kind of pick his brain. And then since then I've stayed in touch with him. I've like emailed him once in a while just to kind of update him on my life. And ever since getting to Vandy, he's always back in Nashville for a conference each year, so we always make sure to meet up. And yeah, I would say with keeping up the mentorship, definitely outreach in a way that's organic. I think I wasn't just going to constantly email him and be like, oh my gosh, I read this article, thought of you. But, keeping up every few months is very helpful. And also showing genuine interest. He had a daughter that was going to starting her freshman year at a school where I had a good friend. So I connected them so she had someone to kind of lean on. So I think just not just having it be like a career networking-y type of connection, but like really being interested in someone's personal life. I think that's been a really good way to keep the mentorship. And he's someone I've always leaned on for advice, and I'll continue to in the future.
I love it. Can you tell me
Thank
a
you.
little
That's
bit
great
about
advice.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about running in your high school, the fashion show and the magazine? I'd love to know more about how you got involved and sort of like what the program was like.
Totally. So it's like every time I think back to it, it makes me so happy because it was such like a personal journey for me doing it. But my freshman year, I saw a TikTok of this girl who ran a magazine at her college. And at the time, I was very obsessed with fashion, and I was like, I want to make this happen at my high school. And I was taking journalism. I had this great teacher, and I met with her, and I was like, I have this idea. Let me know what you think. And she offered to be my faculty advisor. And so what I ended up realizing through the process was it ended up being so like intrinsically tied to music. Our first issue was we recreated album covers, and the whole kind of ethos of the magazine was it wasn't like about like highlighting high fashion or anything like that. It was students would sign up, they'd wear their own clothes, they'd wear things that made them happy, and we'd photograph them in spots around our hometown. And we also wrote articles, interviewed people in the industry, and it was just such a fun, great experience. We ended up putting out 3 issues through my time in high school. And then I always wanted to kind of do a component of it that would give back. And so my sophomore year of high school, we started a charity fashion show there's a local organization in my hometown that kind of helps women and families and children that are, going through difficult situations to kind of get back on their feet. And similar to kind of the ethos of the magazine, we had it where students would just show up on the runway, wear their own clothes because it was really more just about individuality than highlighting high fashion. And we ended up raising, I think, over $7,000 for the 2 years, which was really fun. And yeah, I think it helped me a lot with my perfectionism because when I saw these, Syracuse University magazines, I would always compare mine to them. And I realized like what was important about it was showing people's individuality. It gave people a creative outlet, and that always mattered more than like having a perfectly timed walk on a runway or a perfectly photographed thing. And obviously like our photography and everything improved throughout the years, and I'm really proud of the product we created, but it was just something I loved so much. And even though my interest in fashion kind of evolved into more of an interest in music, the interest in like leading a creative team and bringing a vision to life has always been there. So I really had to like kind of bet on myself. And when I started it, a lot of people were like, oh, like, are you just doing Who Wore It Better? And like they were kind of teasing me about it, but just kind of sticking to my guns, believing in myself. I'm really grateful I did it.
Wow, um, that's amazing
Thank
because
you.
there are a few lessons there that we can do in our recap, but I love that you worked on not having to be perfect because I think so much of what we see are final products, right? On TikTok, on all these things. And I know that this goes also with the organic interest. I think the fact that you're letting people be themselves and also focusing on providing a creative outlet for students, which is also a service of giving back. I think providing an opportunity for that is quite exciting. And I wanted to just say about fashion and music. Um, I was just out in LA and we worked with a band, and one of the things that I think is so important for these bands to them is their personal style. I mean, they bring so much style to their collaboration, their music. It's interesting how it really is tied together in the bands, and so I think it makes sense that music and fashion are your interests, and that music is so tied to that. So I think Beyonce is chairing the Met Gala, this year with,
I just saw that.
yeah, yeah. So so that's interesting that it's all tied in.
Thank you. No, yeah, I've
Cool.
realized like the interest was like overall just in the creativity. And even though our
Hmm.
first issue was recreating album covers, through every issue, we always included like a playlist of the music we listened to when we were writing the articles and the music we listened to soundtrack the photo shoots. And it kind of created these like lyrical time capsules of the work we were doing. So I knew that music would always be a through line through everything I did. So I was just so grateful that that was able to work out and people believed in me.
I love it.
Great.
Okay, so now let's move a little bit to Vanderbilt. So you're a sophomore here. I'd love to know how you've really taken advantage of all the opportunities our school has, and then things, I guess that's the first question. Like, what have you really become involved in at school that you would love to share with the viewers, and sort of like your process for getting involved?
Definitely. I think when you get to a school like Vanderbilt, and I'm sure anyone who's going to a school like Vanderbilt is coming at it from my point of view of like, oh my gosh, this is my dream. I want to do everything. You kind of do the traditional freshman path of like involving yourself in every single club at first and then having to pare it down. So I definitely did that at first. I was lucky that my freshman fall, I rushed a business fraternity. I still don't know how I made it in. I didn't know what a stock was until my final interview, but I somehow made it through because I kind of had a more of unique business interest. And that process really taught me so much just about like the overall business world, finance, consulting. Although I know I don't want to go into those industries, it kind of gave me more of the knowledge to be able to speak about them. And I ended up running for and being accepted as the VP of marketing for Phi Chi Theta for the business fraternity, which has been a lot of fun. I've gotten to manage our social medias, coordinate merch, headshots, all of those things. And it's been just a really great thing because I knew I wanted to be involved in the organization and I had such a passion for it that getting to communicate that through marketing was fun. And then although I was involved in a few clubs freshman year, the ones I kind of ended up sticking with were I'm a member of Lights on the Lawn, which is our school's benefit concert where we raise money for the Mary Parish Center, which is honestly a similar organization to the one I supported in high school with the fashion show, so kind of a small world. But they uplift survivors of domestic violence in Nashville and give them resources. And I was on the marketing committee last year, and starting, I think, in a week, I'm going to be the VP of Lecture, which Lecture on the Lawn is the event underneath Lights on the Lawn where they bring in music industry speakers. Ava and I were both there. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of just like a networking and career exploration event. And then I would say the third organization that I'm involved in mostly on campus is my sorority, Kappa Delta. I can say a million things about it. I love it so much, but I am the VP of Learning and Development, which means I oversee the new member education and new member experience. And then I also plan the sisterhood events. And it's actually been, I mean, when I ran for the role, I was more just like, this is something I love. This is something I care about. I don't care if it's on my resume or not, but it's ended up actually being really surprisingly beneficial. I get to partner with a lot of brands, work with a lot of external event providers, manage a big budget, and it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, other than I would say Phi Chi, Lights on the Lawn, Kappa Delta, and then I'm in some other orgs on campus like the Entertainment Club, like Ava and I have talked about earlier. And yeah, I would just say my advice for being tapped into student orgs is just constantly trying to keep yourself informed, social media, handshake. I mean, I got involved with Vandy on Madison Ave, which is our career trek to New York City for arts and entertainment. And I literally found that because I was scrolling through Handshake and I saw the application. So I would definitely just say, always kind of keep your feelers out there, talk to older students, and that's kind of the way to get involved and find what works fit you. And it's totally fine to step away from something if you need to devote your time to different things because we're all busy. So it's not worth doing something if you feel like you can't give it your 100%.
I love that advice that you keep your ears open, talk to older students.
Mhm.
That way you're aware, but also not be afraid to dial down certain things because there's an opportunity cost to being involved in everything because that means less time for other things. And it sounds like you are not afraid of stepping up to lead in the organizations that you've been involved in. And can you tell me how you get the confidence to go for these leadership roles?
That's a really great question. I think it's a lot of fake it till you make it, honestly. I think outwardly it's easy to present this confidence, but I think I've found different avenues of confidence through different organizations I've been in. I think in Phi Chi Theta specifically, I know I wasn't this way, but I almost felt like the personality hire. I was one of two freshman girls. I was the one interested in not consulting or not finance. And I was always kind of had this insecurity within myself that I wasn't meant to be there. But what I realized was the role of VP of marketing was something tied to what I could uniquely bring to the org. And so really just realizing finding that confidence in yourself of you are meant to be somewhere. And then also just trying to lead in the organizations that really make you feel uplifted and make you feel valued. I think Lights on the Lawn, for example, they really let me be involved even just beyond the marketing committee. I was helping a lot with day of show, with lecture on the lawn, being with people that really believe in you. Same goes for Kappa Delta, just finding a place where you really feel safe and welcomed. I think it's hard to find the confidence to run for these kind of roles, but especially in a school like Vanderbilt where so many kids are so accomplished and you're constantly comparing yourself, just reminding yourself that it's always worth an application, it's always worth a shot, and to really try and lead in organizations that you feel care about you because then you're going to be more motivated to give back to them.
I
Thank you.
love it.
Excellent advice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
Ava loves everything. We love everything that you're
That's
saying
fine,
because
right?
no, these
very
are,
true.
I think if our listeners and our audience,
Mhm.
if they take away a few lessons from our guests and apply them, I think can go a long way because it's nice to hear things that have worked and you're not being afraid to take a shot, finding organizations that you care about that also care about you.
Mhm.
These are all excellent things to remember for anything you go for in life and fake it till you make it. So
Definitely.
Yes.
love it.
Trial and error for sure.
Yes.
So business frats have been really big and really hot on most campuses now, especially in the past couple of years. So I would love to know more about your experience with you rushing your business frat and maybe tips and advice you can give to incoming first years who know they want to rush a business frat as soon as they get there.
I think business frats are a really great thing on college campuses. They can also be super stressful. My path to rushing business frats was very unnatural. I actually didn't plan on it. I had a lot of friends going to all the info sessions, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to do consulting. I don't want to do finance. It's not for me. I was lucky that I had an older friend in Phi Chi Theta who encouraged me to rush, and she really emphasized that like my unique background and unique interests are an asset instead of something that could hold me back. And although I didn't know as much as the other kids rushing, I wasn't, running my own stock portfolio and things like that. In all of the interviews, really just tried to speak to what I was passionate about. I obviously, for like when you're in final rounds and you have to do a stock pitch, like I did do my research, I made sure to know what I was saying, but I really tried to show my unique passions and my unique interests, and I think that's what differentiated me. So, my advice is to definitely, obviously, like do your research, do your preparation, but recognize that your unique interests and passions are what are actually going to drive you forward, not just in business frats, but in like your overall career. I'm only a sophomore, so I can't completely speak to that, but what I've noticed is it really matters what you're super passionate about and how you convey that. And then also just to know that so much of it is up to luck. And having been on the recruitment side of a business frat, I've seen how one person can grade a resume perfectly, and then one person grades the same resume with a low score, and it could just be dependent on if they had breakfast that day and how their exam went. And ultimately, we're all college students, we're all fallible. And I guess I would say my advice to people is to definitely give it your best shot. Recognize that a lot of it is luck and things happen when they're supposed to be, but also when you're in those interview rounds, really try and show your unique passions because that's what shines through.
Great advice for adults as well. I feel like adults should really watch our shows because you guys have soaked in, I think, I don't know if you know Tony Robbins or any of these like excellence, coaches, Jack Canfield, all those coaches that adults, go and pay all this money to see. But it's really true. Your unique voice is what makes you interesting to others and genuine. And also, I love how you mentioned the luck factor because um, there have been so many studies about the luck factor, and it actually is something that factors into entrepreneurship success and something we tend to underestimate. But it also can be empowering because you can let go of some of the results of things and the perfectionism that goes in trying to be your best, putting your best foot forward. Because if there's some things that are not in your control, that do depend on luck and what somebody had for breakfast. And then you can let go of that result and go with passion for other things, knowing that some things will fall your way and others will not. And that's just true for absolutely everything in life. So I love that at your very young age, you are so full of this wisdom already because adults work very hard to remind themselves that to let go of things that don't go their way. So thank you for I don't know where you guys get all this wisdom, but you have it.
Thank
So
you. I don't want to say it all came from this, but I mean, I applied early decision to Vandy and got deferred, and I was so devastated about it. And I was like, it's not meant to be. And I freaked out. And looking back on it, like everything happens for the exact reason. You need to have the belief in that. And that genuinely, like I said, it could have been luck. It could have been that I was meant to get in March and not in December when I heard my decision. And I think moments like that in life just kind of teach you that you have to just roll with the punches and things happen when they're meant to be.
I love it. Yeah, I love everything. So I keep saying I love it to all the responses, but it's true. It's true. Every response really does does hit a different point. So, Ava, I'd
Mhm.
like to hear a little bit about what you've done, at least like so what you did the summer in between your freshman and your sophomore year. What if you interned or if you worked? I'd love to know a little bit about your summer experience.
Definitely. So I kind of picked up a few shifts throughout all of high school and still now. I've worked at a restaurant in my hometown as a host, which has been so much fun and has taught me way more than I ever thought I could. And I was lucky that this summer To be fully transparent with you, I applied to probably 100 internships and got rejected from 99 of them. Like, I did not really network. I did not really I kind of just threw applications at the wall and saw what stuck. And I was really discouraged. And I was fortunate that a friend of mine in my business frat knew someone who was starting, or not starting, who was running a middle school and high school, a private school in Nashville, and they needed a marketing intern for the summer. And he's like, "Hey, Ava, I know you just got elected as VP of marketing. I know you're really interested in this. Would you want to apply?" And I ended up applying. I interviewed with the person that ran the school and I got the role. And I was diving headfirst into something I knew nothing about because I didn't have much experience in the education space. And it was also an independent Jewish middle and high school. And so their whole value proposition was based around faith and having trying to bring in students both of the Jewish faith and of no faith and of Christian faiths. And I just had to completely immerse myself in so many things I wasn't familiar with. And I had the best experience by far. I was home, so I got to work remotely, which was great. But I was really lucky that it was basically just me working under this incredible rabbi who was running these schools. And he gave me a lot of creative reign to really run the school's social media accounts. He let me control the ad spend and run ads. And I basically just kind of dove into everything and taught myself most of it on the job. It was a lot of, watching YouTube how-tos on how to set up meta ads and things like that. But I really learned so much. And I think it gave me a lot of confidence that having work ethic and interest can get you far because I dove into this really feeling like I was completely unqualified and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was able to teach myself how to do it. And there were measurable results, which I was happy about. And it also was really great because it was within the education space, which obviously isn't the music industry, but I learned so many transferable and tangible skills that really were worthwhile. And then I was lucky that for the fall semester, I just finished up last week, which was sad, but I interned at Bauer Entertainment Marketing in Nashville, which is an entertainment marketing agency. They work with a lot of artists, venues, promoters, sports teams. And it was hybrid, so I was able to do it with my classwork, which was great. But I really got to speak a lot to my experience this summer with the high school and middle school in those interviews. And I cannot say enough good things about BEM. It's a remote internship, so anyone who's watching this can apply and do it from wherever they are. And it's taught me so much. My first client call, I got to sit in on a major award show. I've gotten to have such great exposure and really be involved. And it just these two experiences, I feel like I've learned so much. I was on the business development side with Bauer Entertainment Marketing. So instead of being the one plugging away, making the post, scheduling out the ads, I was doing kind of more forest instead of the trees. I was making proposals for clients and writing legal agreements. And it was such an amazing experience. I could talk about it for hours, so I won't. But I got to work at the International Entertainment Buyers Association conference with the rest of my company, which was great. And yeah, those are kind of the two main internship experiences I've had. And I think they really just taught me so much.
That's amazing. That also gives people the go ahead. You can apply for 100 things. All you need is one, just
Exactly.
the one, the one that works out. And same thing with colleges, right? Like once you get to your college, you learn what there is to love. So all you need is the one. And I love how the transferable skills piece is really important. It sounds like you made the best of getting those skills and bringing them to your next organization, and that you balanced your schoolwork and this other internship. It's amazing that you got to do the forest, not the trees for something, because that's for an intern. That's wonderful to just see the big picture of where the work goes, but that you also learned how to place ads on YouTube, which we need to do as well. So these are great skills. So Ava, it sounds like you that's something that is good to learn. I have a question about the hosting, because since you were in West Hartford, and we know there are a lot of great restaurants there, and when I was in high school, and also college, and I was at Yale, and I would come home in the summer, and sometimes I would go back to where I was a waitress at Houlihan's, still exists. How did you feel? What did you learn from the hosting? That's a really front end of the house job. You're representing the entertainment brand, because restaurants are entertainment as well. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you got that job and how you felt about it and what you learned from that?
Definitely. I love talking about this. It was like the people there are like genuinely family to me. But yeah, so I was a host at Restaurant Brico in West Hartford. I grew up going there since I was a baby. Most of the people that work there have known me since I was literally like in a baby carriage. And right when I was old enough to work, I applied to be a host there and got the job. And I worked there all the years throughout high school. And then whenever I'm back for breaks, I try and pick up shifts. And I learned so much. I think most of the time I was there, I was the youngest host. So I was constantly working with people who were much, much older than me, had much more life experience than me. And it's such a fast-paced environment. I'm really lucky that Brico is probably, I think, either like the busiest or one of the busiest restaurants in Hartford County. So we were like constantly manning multiple phones, bringing people to tables, handling orders. And there's a lot of things that you can't mess up. Like if someone has an allergy, you can't, like, you have to be extra diligent. If there's a client who's been coming to the restaurant for 30 years, you have to be extra diligent about that. It was kind of like trial by fire. It just kind of threw me in there. And obviously, I was trained, but it really taught me a lot about communication, how to handle a lot of different personalities and people who have different interests. And it helped me build my confidence for sure. I think I remember like shaking the first time I picked up the phone to answer someone's call. It definitely helped me build confidence, also in terms of like talking to people older than me and kind of building a bit more maturity where I could handle those situations and just a lot of multitasking. I've also made some really great friends through that job. And yeah, it really just kind of put me into like the adult real world when I was younger, like to go from high school to, at night working at this restaurant and seeing all the different kind of characters come through and hear people's life stories. In addition to the work experience, I think it really just kind of shaped my perspective and really prepared me to think on my feet.
Love that.
What
All
kind of what
things
kind of food do
needed.
they do? What kind of
Italian.
cuisine?
Italian, Brico.
Oh,
Yes, it's so
so
good.
yummy. We loved West Hartford. We spent my younger
Really?
sister did a play at Hartford Stage
I
a
love her.
long time ago. Great, great place. There's also a really good Italian restaurant right across from Hartford Stage. I don't remember the name, but we used to go all the time after shows.
I know
And
what you're talking about.
so
It's on the tip of my tongue.
yeah, so
Yeah.
she was there. My mom and her were there for how long? They were, I think the show ran for 3 months, question
It was
mark.
for several months. We'd come home as well, but we used to always go to West Hartford and the Mark Twain
Yes,
house.
House.
We used to love that. So
But
Connecticut is,
we loved
yeah.
West Hartford Baking Co. They were
love
really
her. Oh
they
my
were
gosh.
really good soup and sandwich. I remember I used to go and get a grilled cheese with a little, oh, so much,
I always
so
do grilled
fun.
cheese and tomato soup. That's my go-to. It's so good.
You talked a little bit about being involved on your sorority's exec board. I'd love
Mhm.
to know a little bit more about you talked about getting the experience and applying and ending up really loving it. What have you really loved about being part of the exec board on your sorority, as well as being part of the sorority socially?
Definitely. I'm really lucky. I joined my sorority in January of this year, so it's been about 12 months now. And I could go on for hours about like the process of sorority rush, how crazy it is, and how like you end up where you're supposed to be and you learn a lot about yourself. But I just completely found my best friends through it in so many ways. And what I loved about it so much was like our new member process. They really made such an effort to make everyone feel included and welcomed. And they clued you into everything that was going on. And they always gave you a new buddy each week to like an older student to get to know and connect with. And everyone was telling me like, oh, you should run for VP of Finance. It'll look so good on your resume. And my best friend's VP of Finance, so like shout out to her. But I knew like that the new member experience was what meant the most to me. And I ended up getting my friend and I were the sisterhood chairs up until now. So we got to kind of help plan some of the sisterhood events. And as much as everyone was like, oh, run for finance, run for X, Y, and Z, I was like, this is the role that means the most to me because you get to really give back to these girls and make them feel welcome during a time when it's so stressful. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful that I get to be VP Learning and Development because I get to oversee both like the sisterhood arm of things and also new member education. I've been planning bid day, which is a lot of fun because we get to kind of
So
welcome.
exciting.
It's so exciting. And I feel like also with like managing a big budget, working with brands, things like that. I think it's just another lesson in kind of following my passions because it's so much easier to do work when you love what you're doing and you get to like show that you're passionate about something. And I mean, I have friends on exec and other sororities at Vandy, and they all say the same. I think it's really just like trying to give back to something that's given back to you has really been super exciting. And I think I'm glad I followed what I was passionate about because it has given me transferable skills and experience that could work in a job setting, but also it's just a lot of fun. And I like being on like the governing council board because when things happen within the chapter, we are the ones that get to kind of give input on that and help with the trajectory of that. So it's great to just get to give back to something that's given so much to me.
We've had so much amazing advice from Ava and gotten to know you in a very dynamic way. I'd love to ask you about your support at home. Can you tell us a bit more about, um, have your parents also been mentors? Have you, what have you found from your family and, just your inner circle of friends, if there's something that you have gained?
Definitely. I'm really grateful for my parents and my family and my support systems at home. I could not do any of this without them. Even like with starting Thread, the magazine and the fashion show, for example, they were like the two people that believed in me, my parents, before anyone else, them and my faculty advisor, they were like the people that believed in it before anyone else really knew what it was. I'm very lucky that my parents also like bring different career perspectives that have influenced me. My dad, he works in marketing. He runs a marketing agency in Connecticut. And my mom was a lawyer for 15 years and is now a travel agent. So if I know in the future, if I'm given a contract for a business job, I could have the lawyer eyes looking at it and the business eyes looking at it, which will be helpful. But no, my parents are my biggest supporters in so many ways. Also, my friends in high school, too. I think I am lucky that like I built a really good support system at my high school and I still have one of my best friends from high school actually transferred to Vandy, which is so great to have her in my corner because she's here now. But yeah, my best friend who goes to a different school has been my closest friend since we were basically one. Like it's great to just kind of have those people that cheer you on through your successes and through the hard times. I think it's easy to be there for someone when they're struggling, but to be there for someone when they're having something positive happen too is important. But yeah, my parents are my biggest supports. I could not live without them. And just like their commitment, their mentorship, their ability to just be there for me through everything, it's like indispensable.
I love that wisdom. I agree that sometimes being there for people during positive moments can be challenging because everybody feels, oh no, there's some finite amount of positivity in the world. And if somebody I know gets it, maybe it won't be me. But we need to have faith that there are enough good things going
Exactly.
around and that supporting others, you're putting out into the world what you would like to receive as well. So that's a great observation to be there for your friends when good things happen because they deserve that. There is enough, and you want the same thing
Totally. I
too.
think that's something I've learned just through like high school and life and everything. I'm sure Ava, you've like understood that too. It's just kind of a big lesson for sure.
Um, and then I think we have our question of,
About mentors.
yeah,
So I think parents is a great segue, but you also talked a little bit about your mentorship from your Grammy camp. But I
and
really
the
try to ask,
teacher,
and the
and the teacher
teacher,
for the thread. Yes.
Mhm.
I really try to ask all my guests about mentors who have really impacted them. And this can be a repeat of people you've already said. And then also people who you've taken under your wing, if you have, and sort of helped mentor. And you've had, like, as mentees, like, you've helped mentor them through their experiences.
That's such a great question. I love mentorship. It's something I care about so much, and I love that your guys' podcast is so focused on that too. I know I mentioned Mike, my professor from Grammy Camp, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Miss Shefflin, who was my journalism teacher in high school, who advised the magazine, the fashion show. I mean, we still text all the time and meet up for coffee, and she is just like was like she believed in me before anyone else believed in the idea at school. Like it was literally her and my parents who were like behind me as I was starting this thing. And it went from just this idea to like building a staff of over 50 students. And she is just someone I really feel like I can trust. She guided me so much through the development process of the magazine and of the fashion show. She also kind of took off the training wheels, which was nice. Like she had the faith in me that I could lead it on my own. She was there when I needed her, but she also really kind of let me build that confidence on my own. And I could not live without her. Like she was so helpful and is so helpful still. And in terms of mentoring other people, in high school, I was also really involved with my school had a chapter of Power of Women, which is like a female empowerment organization. And when I was a freshman, there was a senior named Sloan who completely took me under her wing and just like guided me through high school in so many ways. And I always kind of was like familiar with sororities and Big Little and how that worked. And I wanted other students to have access to that same mentorship of like meeting someone organically, having them support you. So with the three other girls on our exec board, we started the Power of Women Big Sisters program where we paired our school is 6 through 12. So we paired sixth graders with high school mentors. And we wanted to kind of like forge those mentorship bonds from early on. So that like is a more structured way I've tried mentoring people, but also I've learned through like the Phi Chi like business route recruitment process this semester as a sophomore, like it's been so great. Like the way I met Ava is because she rushed Phi Chi, like getting to meet these freshmen who honestly, like if we rushed at the same time freshman year would have beaten me out, who are so incredibly qualified, but people that I can like give advice to, give comfort to. I think when you're in those shoes of like being the mentee, you feel so nervous. So like to have, I'm still learning so much, but like sophomore versus freshman to have like a little bit of wisdom and knowledge to be able to give that back, it's just really rewarding because like you know the position someone else is in and you want to make them feel comforted.
And I think some of the best advice you gave me was so I rushed Ava's business frat this semester and I didn't make it to the end, but some of the advice she gave me was to really just try it again and like treat everything as just like an opportunity and to really just go for it as many times as you want to. So I
Mhm.
think after my first semester of rushing the business frat and like feeling the experience, I'm very prepped and excited to go into my second semester of rushing because to me it's just like I'm trying a new thing and if it works it works and if it doesn't like there's a million things in the world that have opportunities and for you to try. So
Totally. No, I'm so glad we met through that process. And it's hard like giving advice on the other side because like you're in a room of 30 people, you're voting on one person and it's like you have like you've built up these people that like you want it to work out so badly for. But I'm glad that my advice was helpful because I remember when I was in your shoes, I was so nervous.
So how do you find time? It sounds like you made great friends and connections through these incredible organizations. Um, do you find time for exercise, nature, reading, movies, books? What are some of your, um, you know, extracurricular fun things on top of it? Sounds like you have a lot of fun doing all these things that you love, so it's even hard to ask because you're already interacting with so many friends and people. Is there anything else that you love to do that rounds out your incredibly diverse set of interests already?
I love that question. That's such a great question. I think, especially this semester, it kind of hit me that like I was able to do everything and love it, but you kind of, when you are doing every single thing you're passionate about, like time management is so important. And so I'm such a calendar person. Everything's in my Apple Calendar. But in terms of like hobbies and other things, I think it was the summer after my senior year of high school, I picked up teaching myself guitar, which has been a lot of fun. As much as I like get my energy from other people, there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, my social battery's dead. Like I need to
Mhm.
unwind. So I love just like playing a little guitar for fun. I love spending time with my friends, even if it like not even just like in clubs, but like just like getting to kind of just like talk, recap with people. Like I think stuff like that is really, really important. I love working out. I always try and, build in time a few times a week to work out. I think just like lets off some steam, gets things out of your system. Throughout all of middle school and high school, for I think 8 years, I was a competitive volleyball player. So losing that outlet has been an adjustment because like you've learned so much about being on a team and it's like a huge part of your life. I was at tournaments every weekend, but yeah, I've definitely been going to the gym, doing things like that to keep up that environment. But yeah, I love trying to find hobbies. I want to read more. I don't read enough, which is something I need to work on. But yeah, I also love catching up with friends at other schools. I think like my best friend since like we were born, she goes to Emory, so like I always try and like catch up with her. I have friends at other schools. And yeah, just really kind of connecting with people I care about and doing the hobbies that really make me help feel like I can unwind.
Oh no, I was going to say, on top of everything else, Ava was a competitive volleyball player and is brave enough to teach herself guitar. So I think those are really It's amazing that you find the time, and I guess your trick is the calendar.
Yeah.
And
I
how do
will
you
book
manage?
lunch with a friend. Like I'm very crazy with my calendar. Like I need
Okay,
to if I don't have like I have like a to-do list and then I have my calendar. Like if I don't have it organized, it's not happening. So
that's
I'm
excellent advice. And how do you stay away from, doom scrolling, distraction? How do you manage your time with devices? Just
I honestly do doom scroll. I wish I had like more wisdom on this, but truthfully, like when I need to get my work done, I will, without breaking it, like will physically throw my phone across the room.
Same.
Like my dorm right now, like I have like a living room, kitchen area, and then my bedroom. I will like keep my phone in the living room and then do work in my bedroom or vice versa.
Mhm.
Um, I am still working on that. I'm still working on procrastinating things like that, but I always like to like put myself in a third place too. I think if I'm doing work in like a library or a coffee shop versus like my dorm, I'm always more productive because like you're surrounded by other people also being focused. So that's something I try to do.
Great, great tips there. Throw your phone.
Yeah.
Don't break it. Yeah,
There's probably more like productive like study
yeah.
ways to do
Oh,
it, but I just have to throw my phone away. We'll
yeah.
see.
I think physical separation is perfect.
No,
That's
yeah, I
that's
actually
helpful.
physically throw my phone away. Like I will put it, like I will sometimes throw it to my couch. Like when I was at home in high school, I would throw my phone from my like desk to my couch, so I don't even have to like go and look at it.
It feels so sweet. I literally chuck my phone. I love that you
Yeah,
also do
no,
that.
same.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so the last question I always ask is, what are three things you are excited for in the upcoming year? One's like personally, one's academically, and one's socially. But before I ask that question, I'd love to know, what is something you're looking forward to the next semester academically? Because as a sophomore, you're getting close to the area where you sort of start to declare your major, right? So I just love to know, like, academically, what you're taking next semester, and if it's sort of in line with your HOD major. Or you're also a communications. Are you an HOD double major with a
God, I
communications?
never actually like said all of that, but
We're
Oh,
I'm
getting
yes,
into it
we should.
now.
Yeah, we should definitely mention the major and explain HOD.
yeah,
Exactly.
I'm double majoring in human and organizational development, or HOD, as Vandy calls it, in communication studies with a business minor. And the kind of short explanation of HOD I always give is it's like management psychology, it's understanding how people work together. I think HOD is kind of Vandy's equivalent of like a business management major in the sense that like you're learning how people work together, how to lead organizations, but there's also a lot of kind of like psychological elements to it, like human development, things like that. And yeah, for my classes next semester, this semester my classes were kind of different. I was in four communication classes and one HOD, so wrote a lot of papers. It was a lot of fun. But next semester, I'm taking my lab requirement. I'm taking astronomy, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm also doing all my business mods, so like accounting, marketing, finance, managing operations. I'm really excited for those because I feel like they're like when I talk to, my friends' parents and stuff, they're always like, you need to take an accounting class, you need to learn this. So I'm excited to learn all of that. And then I'm also taking a good amount of my HOD core, which will be really nice. I'm taking a class called Understanding Organizations, which I've heard is really interesting. It's like understanding how businesses and teams work together. But yeah, I'm excited to just be taking like a more diversified course load. I think being in all communications classes was fun, but it's a lot of reading and a lot of writing. So I'm glad I get to do some science, some business, some HOD, and kind of mix it all up next semester.
What kind of readings do you do in the communications courses?
It's a lot of like I was in a mixture of classes because I was in introductory classes like intro to comms and public speaking, and then I was also in like more higher level classes where we were studying like political speech making. So it was actually really interesting. Like we got to analyze a lot of past political speeches and pieces of
Hmm.
rhetoric, kind of delve into like their implications. I liked the higher level classes a lot because you kind of it's less focused on like rhetorical traditions and more on the kind of implications in the real world. But I loved all my classes, especially public speaking. That was a fun one. You got to practice giving speeches and everything, which is really fun.
Sounds amazing. That
Yeah.
sounds really useful.
Thanks.
And
Yeah.
accounting. I vote also for accounting.
Yes,
Everybody wants to know more accounting.
exactly. And I know nothing, so I'm happy to take it.
Okay, so last question of the podcast is, what are three things you're looking forward to in the next year? One academically, one socially, and one personally.
That's a really great question. In terms of three things I'm looking forward to academically, socially, and personally, Academically, I guess I can tie in like academics and career, I would say, but academically, I'm really interested in, taking the like more upper level HOD and communications classes and really getting into my major, which I'm excited about. I'm also really hoping to get an internship in the music industry next summer. I've been applying to some things, and sophomore summer is the first time you can kind of like leave home and spread your wings, so I'm hopeful for that. Personally, Hmm. I have to think of that's a really good question. I think personally, I'm excited to I really want to try and, delve into my passions a bit more. My friend and I had a talk about this, about how, like, sometimes you're so busy that you just like go on your phone or watch TV after, but I really want to try and get involved in my passions. And just like pour myself into things that interest me, like developing more hobbies. And then socially, I'm really excited to get a little in my sorority. Like I said, mentorship means so much to me. I know that's like a silly answer, but my big in my sorority is like a huge mentor, my best friend. So like I'm excited for that socially. But yeah, personally, just to keep, working on myself, experiencing new things, keep exercising, things like that.
What kind of exercise do you suggest, or do you do, or what do you love?
I kind of do everything. I usually just like go to the gym and like do an incline walk or lift weights. But freshman year, I did a ton of like workout classes, like Pilates classes, things like that. The freshman campus is near all of those, so I would always just like walk over. But just anything that is fun. I had a big running phase, but I like completely hated running. I think exercise only works if you actually enjoy what you're doing. So definitely finding something that like makes you tick for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, well, it's an amazing episode. This is episode 11 of Intern to Empire. We're finally in our past our 10th episode. So thank you so much,
yes.
Ava, for
Thank
being on the podcast. Thank you, Ina, for being an incredible co-host. And yeah, tune into the next episode. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having me. It's been so great talking to you all, and I'm just so grateful to be here. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much to both Avas, Ava Swinton for being an amazing host, and Ava Cashman for being an incredible guest from whom our viewers are going to learn the path to incredible success in life and personal endeavors
Thank
and
you
professional.
guys.